shit. Fucking, yeah,
Is
man.
what do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think because DJing for you came from a time of where it was pre-social media, or maybe even just the start of social media?
Are we live right now? Is this fucking? That sounds like a question, like some
It's
content
it's
there.
a it's a yeah. Well, we're going. We're not exactly live because.
Why are you gonna edit this after or something?
Do you want me to?
I don't know. It depends how much I say stupid shit. We'll see.
I
I don't know. Fucking,
it's
you
up to
know.
you. It's your show.
Yeah. Sorry. What was the question again?
I was just wondering what you thought about because
Oh, social media. I hate it.
yeah. Do
I
you
mean, I
have
use it, but I hate it. I fucking hate it. It's horrible. It's fucking. It's so. I like it for what it's supposed to be used for, which is just talking shit, finding music, sharing music, listening to music, and staying in touch with friends and jokes. But everything else really fucking puts me off. I really don't like it. I fucking can't stand the narcissism. That really puts me off. And obviously shit that used to be fun, like maybe Facebook was fun a couple years ago, but now it's just a fucking cesspool. So is Twitter. Twitter's even worse, actually. It's funny. I went through periods where I'd flip flop back and forth between like, okay, I like Twitter's more my style, and then maybe and then it's just like, no, Twitter is actually probably the worst right now as far as just the fucking toxicity of it. You know what I mean? But yeah, listen, we have to use it. I'm not an old man yelling at the clouds. We got to use it, but it's fucking stupid.
Can you imagine walking into a large area, like a park, for example, and having the ability to say something that 100 people, whether you knew them or not, simultaneously would hear what it is that you're saying? And some people, a compelling feeling to come forward and say something to you about whatever it is that you have just said. If that was
the best analogy, I know what you're getting at, and the best analogy is all. And I've seen many people say this, is that social media is it's allowed people to say whatever they want without a fear of getting punched in the face. And so obviously, if you walk into a park and you say whatever fucking outlandish shit is on your mind, depending on what you said and who's in that park, your chances of getting punched in the face are infinitely higher than they are if you say that shit on Twitter, right? So I'd almost prefer to fucking stand on a box in a park and say some dumbass shit, because at least people can check you for it in real time.
Have you made posts yourself that you've like had the hindsight to think, I wish I hadn't have done that, or I hadn't have said that?
Honestly, no.
All right, well, that's great.
I like to think that listen, maybe someone thinks I'm an asshole, but I don't think I'm an idiot. I think I'm smart enough to, and I don't think, and where I might be an asshole, what I'm not is a bigot or like that's not. So there's nothing I don't think I've ever said. If I said anything that offended someone because maybe A, they don't understand sarcasm, which probably means they're fucking stupid, or B, I said something that was important to me in regards to, I don't know, the art of stuff, and their opinion's different and they're offended by it. So fucking don't follow me, dude. I don't care. But no, I've never said I don't personally no, because I don't really use. I'm not going to sit on Facebook and talk about politics, and now Facebook's great for that because it's important that you get all your financial advice and learn about vaccines. It's important that you get all that shit from like former drug addicts on Facebook. That you want to learn about crypto and all that. It's important. I try to balance my portfolio and make sure that I'm up on all my health by listening to fucking dudes who used to snort lines off the back of washrooms and fucking comfort zone. It's important to do that. That's what Facebook's for. I mean, it's a wealth of knowledge sharing. Getting together. It's a community. It's important.
Might this have something to do with some of the, like, maybe the algorithm is giving you some? What are you looking for? What are you reading? What are you following?
I just follow, obviously I follow my friends, and then I follow artists whose music I enjoy or find interesting, or on Instagram I'll follow a lot of. Instagram's a picture site, so I'll follow interior design pages and fashion pages, and and then as far as Twitter or whatever, I'm trying to follow people that have something interesting or funny to say, or just just keeping up with friends and with the artists that I follow. And it's nothing. It's not rocket science.
I think sometimes social media is a bit like either a holiday dinner or a card game with friends, and
I think
so
it's supposed to be.
it's
It's
mixed.
supposed to be.
You get some good fact,
Yeah. Yeah.
you get a war story, you get a bunch of
Yeah.
bullshit, and
Yeah.
it's kind of coming at you simultaneously, and you've got to sit there and pick and choose how to deconstruct what it is you're digesting, and it's coming at you at light speed, or at least the flick of your thumb.
Yeah. And I think that's what social media is supposed to be. It's supposed to be an extension of you and I, bunch of our friends sitting in a room talking shit to each other. Now you're just doing it while you're lying down on the couch, which is actually in theory even better, right? The
Or in a
problem is
utility
that
room.
yeah. Your shelfie in the utility room is dope. I like that. You got a good. That's very drum and bass in your vibe. Very dark. It's very like
I
shank
tried for
someone in
you
the
today.
yard.
I tried. I
Yeah,
wanted to
no,
get
no,
that.
I like it. The
Okay.
aesthetic is dope. It's that shank someone in the yard and I got to do time in fucking solitary for 2 weeks.
I
It's good.
wasn't thinking that, but
It's dope. It's very joint based. She's more than me. The wife came in. She hooked up some plants and shit. She said the shelfie is very important, like with a Zoom call and whatnot. She read an article in Home and Garden magazine about the shelfies and shit. So my shit's very like professional, but you got that fucking dingy drum and bass basement of turbo look. That's dope. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I forgot what we were talking about. Sorry. We're talking about
what?
social media. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I,
I mean, in theory, social media is supposed to be fun, and I just find that, especially, I mean, obviously, the world we live in currently, it's not becoming so fun anymore because I think people obviously are isolated and they're starting to go fucking a bit crazy, and you're seeing I see outlandish shit on the internet on a daily basis now where I'm just like, yeah, fuck this, and I just put my phone down.
and here we are staying connected because of it, right? Despite the
Yeah.
fact of all the chaos that's taking place.
No, this is
I agree
important.
with you. The strangest of times.
Yeah, these types of things are very important. Just the actual connecting. Obviously for myself and you and everyone else. I mean, this is whether it's a phone call or a Skype or whatever. This is for the most part, the only communication.
Do you have headphones?
Yeah.
Are you wearing headphones right now? Are they in?
Yeah.
I can't see
Yeah.
them. That's lovely. It's great. That's
You
great.
like that, eh?
I
Technology,
do.
but
Very
yeah.
sleek.
I
I'm
know. Yeah.
when did you start DJing? Like, do you remember when you like put out a mixtape that was this is the mix? I don't mean like a mixtape to your friends to judge, or maybe even just pass around. I mean like you made a cover for it. The track
Yeah.
selection was
It's funny you should say that because mixtapes have been mixtapes and online mixes in general has always been something that I've been very uh, lax on in terms of because I'm never happy with anything. So I've recorded thousands of mixes, but I would never put them out because I listened to it and there'd be that one thing on it. And this is fucking garbage, and I'd throw the tape out the window on the DVP. You know what I mean? Or I'd fucking just delete it off my fucking hard drive. So I don't think the first actual mix that was like an ecstatic and numb and all that. I don't think that shit came out until like 5, 6, 7 years, like maybe the 2000s when I started actually having that out. So I caught the tail end of it. So it's funny, you go on like one of those what's that site, the Toronto Mixtape Archive. I have stuff on there,
yeah.
but it's mostly stuff from like the post ecstatic era, like where people recording me like off the radio.
TRMA, right?
Great,
Toronto
yeah.
Remix,
Shout to those guys. There's another guys called jungletapes.com. Shout to those guys. Those guys, they archive like to get people to send them their tape collections, and they archive them. And I appreciate stuff like that because that's keeping the culture alive. But anyway, so I don't think the first mixtape, it might have been like an urban unit tape or something, which would have been like 99, 2000, but I'd already been DJing since like 91, 92. I was my own worst enemy. I'm so critical of, I had such a high expectation for myself that I put under myself that I just wouldn't put it out. I'd listen to it. I used to make tapes and give them to Natural so you could hear all the beats, but I wouldn't put them out. There's something about it. Could be anything, It's funny because you'll see like producers, especially now with the pandemic, guys are looking, they're have the time to dig through their hard drives and stuff. And a lot of people, especially in drum and bass, I don't know if it's the same in house and whatnot. I think it is putting out like, old music of theirs that they never put out. Perfect example would be like Break, who put out an album the other day of music that he's made in the last 10, 15 years. And he said, you know what, at the time when I made it, there was something about it. It could have been, I didn't like the way the snare was sitting. I didn't like something about the mix down. So I shelved the tune. And now 15, 20 years later, I go back and listen to it and I realize, there was nothing wrong with it. so they're putting it out. So that's kind of the way I was with my mixes and my mixtapes. There could have been something so small that just drove me crazy and I wouldn't put it out. So sometimes I'll go on my hard drive and I'll find a mix from whatever, 10, 15 years ago. And at the time, I never really put it out. I'll listen to it now. I'll be like, no, you know what? There's fucking nothing wrong with this. Who cares if there was a split second, push pull of a mix or something, and I'll put it out. So I think it's that for me, that was always something that I probably could have done better at as far as just getting myself out there in the beginning.
So, okay. So what was the start then? Because typically, I mean, I'm thinking, of course, then, not maybe not necessarily now, obviously very different now. But then it was like one of those things of where it was along the lines of you did a crazy amount of shopping, simultaneously some networking being out, and then you honed your craft with what it was you were shopping for. You got together 90 minutes of something you absolutely, thought was the best representation of you, and pressed whatever it was that you could afford to press of these literally physical cassettes, distribute them either via the independent shops that lined Queen West and sometimes other places, or sell them at parties, give them out to friends. You weren't doing this, so what was
No,
it that Lush did to get onto the lineups?
what I did was my mixtapes were live. I was on the most important thing for me. I mean, there was whatever the opportunities I would have, whether it was opening parties or closing parties or whatever. I made sure that I made an impression. And then I guess when things started really changing for me was when we had stuff like Renegade Airways and when I was on Prophecy all the time, like basically radio. So in that case, you're getting a mixtape live. I'm doing it live and you're hearing it live. And that's where people noticed me. And things definitely picked up from there. So whereas I wasn't, I was never the guy that was, I'm going to record a mix and I'm going to get some art and I would just get like, Urban Unit or somebody would pay me to go and make them a mix. And and then they would handle all that. So, but I mean, I was DJing since I started DJing in like 1990, 91. And when I started, and then I was playing rap music and then as I progressed into hardcore and jungle, I started getting gigs. Like my first actual rave gig was in 94 or 95. Sorry, it was Delirium. So that, and then from there, kind of, you play one. I mean, back then it was different. It's all word of mouth. You play one gig, you play the next gig, you start getting better time slots. More people see you, they start talking, and we're from that old foundation of you build your reputation one set at a time. As opposed to now where you still do the same in a way, but it's immediately online in everyone's face. Whereas you have to be there. So my foundation, your foundation, and everybody from our era is built on people being there and experiencing what we do in the moment, and then going back and say, "Wow, I saw Jello the other day. He smashed it. Lush was fucking amazing the other day. Like fuck." Now and then they start throwing parties and they start calling you to book you, and then the radio shows in my case come out or start happening every week, and I used to take them very, very, very seriously. I looked at it because I knew that. I'll give you the example of Renegade Airways. I feel like we're covering a lot of ground right away, but with Renegade Airways,
No, it's perfect.
We had that every week, and obviously, like Mystical and Sniper were supposed to be the main DJs on there, but they were DJing so much, and they were working at the shop, and they were commuting back and forth from Brampton. So a lot of Thursday nights they just give a fuck. They're like, yo, I'm sitting at home and watching hockey. I don't care. You guys do it. So it would be me or Slip and Slide or Everfresh or whatever, or Soulja, and we would have the slots.
Which
So,
is, I gotta pause you for a second. If you save
yeah,
where you're at, save where you're at. I mean, that's kind of crazy because I'm not quite sure. I want to definitely revisit Sniper and Mystical together. I don't know if they knew that they were inadvertently really building the scene by doing that.
100%. And it's just because they were too fucking lazy to fucking come down.
Wild.
So it's their fault.
You know what I
It's
mean?
their
What a
fault.
side
It's their
effect.
fault. Listen, it's their fault. Got to deal with me. It's their fault that they got to fucking deal with me. I watched your one with Sniper, by the way. Fucking yeah, that was hilarious. Fucking Chris. Listen, Chris, you fucking asshole. I know that when you were supposed to be fucking, taking geography and history in high school, you were in front of fucking Venezia's Pizza selling dime bags and getting into fights. But if you fucking read a book once in a while, you know that my family's not from Israel, you fucking asshole. I love you, buddy, but Jesus fucking Christ, man, you're a fucking Neanderthal, eh? Anyway,
Well,
Chris, big up, man. I love you. If there was
so
no, listen, if it wasn't for Mystical and Sniper, you wouldn't be talking to me. So respect. You know what I mean? Like, fuck.
yeah, your
Yeah.
love letters to
Right.
each other are unique. So
Yeah.
I'm curious though. So you were able to set aside the feelings that you had with the mixtapes and not wanting to have that out there, but you were
No,
cool
I
enough to
knew I
go.
had to have them out there. I was just so fucking ignorant and stupid that I wasn't putting them out there because I didn't think they were good enough. But believe me, I wasn't ignorant to the fact that I knew that this is. But again, because I was able to utilize the radio and the live sets, I was able to build a name over a longer period of time than I could have. Because, like I said, I was DJing
That's
in
just it
raves from
though.
'94.
Were
You
you
know,
not thinking to yourself that people were listening to the radio and they were like, I'm gonna hit record. I recorded so many sessions off the radio. I mean, you must have as well. I mean, we had to. Otherwise,
I
what
didn't.
would,
In the beginning, I didn't realize how many people it was reaching until later.
you mean
I was just
the
looking at,
radio
yeah, the
shows?
radio. Yeah, I didn't realize until years later, like people would say, like I didn't but I did know that it was. I knew that it was big enough to the point that like this is a platform for me to show people what I could do. Because you got to remember, um, obviously these radio years coincided with the biggest years of raves and whatnot in Toronto. But and I was on, I was a resident for Cyrus and all that, and I was on a large percentage of the big bills. But I was playing first, I was playing second, so over time people would get to see me. But the radio was a chance for me to I knew that there was at least, I don't know, a couple hundred people listening every Thursday night at midnight or at 1 a.m. And I knew that and most of the people that were listening were like up and coming DJs or kids that were buying vinyl. So they knew the music. So I knew that if I'm coming on there and I have the freshest music that I can get my hands on that they don't have, and my mixing is of a certain caliber, that I'm going to get noticed. And that's what happened.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, but there was things earlier than that. I mean, like the way I became a Cyrus resident was through me playing live and stuff like that. And so, but I never, with the exception of giving tapes to like Mystical, I never gave tapes to anybody. I never auditioned for any gigs. You know what I mean? Like they just word of mouth, and people would like. I'll tell you. Okay, so the way I got booked for Delirium the first time, I knew Marcus already for the whole time, but he never actually heard me DJ because I was just a kid in the record store and a kid at the raves. He's like, oh, there's a fucking crazy kid with his fucking stupid friends, right? But so he never actually heard me DJ, but we were already friends. We knew each other well. I went to every Delirium party and all that. But it was Mystical that told him to book me because Mystical said, yeah, Lush is ready. You should book him. So that was my first big rave, like in the 90, I think it was 95. And then from there, I ended up, there used to be in 90, it was 394, 95, there was like a DJ competition at 23 Hop. It was called Project Core. And I believe Dave Whalen from Visionary was involved with it. It was so long ago. But anyway, I remember in 94, I went to this DJ competition. And I didn't enter it because same thing. I was like, I wasn't in my head. I just wasn't confident enough if I was ready. But I went to the competition, and the guy who won the competition was this guy. I don't know if you remember Rough Rider from Brampton. He was one of Mystical and Sniper's boys. He won the competition, and the guy who came in second was Easy Rush from Liquid Adrenaline. And no disrespect to those guys, they were great. But I remember listening to them and thinking, well, if that's the caliber to win, I can do that. So the next year, I said, I'm fucking going in. So the next year I went in, and it was myself. It was everyone from my sort of era. It was myself, Slip and Slide, Everfresh, a bunch of guys that kind of faded away afterwards, and we all went in. But anyway, at that competition, I remember it was the same thing. I remember everybody's DJ. We had to draw like straws or whatever for who goes, the order. I ended up having to go last. So I had to stand there all night and listen to everybody play, which was great because as everybody played, my confidence just went up because I was in my head. I was like, I'm better than this guy. I'm better than this guy. I'm better than this guy. yeah, that guy's all right, but I can catch him too. And then by the time my set was up, I was just like fucking energized. I was like, this is mine. I'm taking it. And I did. So, and off the back of that, I was at Knowledge the next, because this was on a Thursday. The next night was a Friday. I was at Knowledge, and I won the competition, or whatever. It was, I guess, words getting out. And Robbie Lisi comes up to me, like, making fun of me. You know, he puts my arm in the air. You're the champion, blah blah blah. And I was kind of embarrassed or whatever, because he's making fun of me, which is totally cool. But and he said, listen, he goes, you know what, man? He goes, that's really great. He goes, I want you to. I'm starting this night called Funkist at Oz. I want you to be one of the residents. And off the back of that, and then off the back of just my relationship with everybody in that circle, that was in 96. By the time that happened, by the time 95, 96, and then by the time like 98, 99 came around, I was like a full-fledged, resident for them. And then of course, when Life Force happened, that carried over, because when they merged together and became this bigger entity, it carried over for me. So I was playing anything that was related to what they were doing, whether it was Turbo or System or Renegade Airwaves or all the Life Force events. So through that, and then when you were playing 10 o'clock, next thing you know, you're playing 11 o'clock, then you're playing 12 o'clock, you know what I mean? And it just exposes you to more people in real time. So I didn't need to, I probably still needed to, because it probably would have done me better, but I didn't actually need to sit out there and hand out tapes, because other promoters were booking me off the back of that. They're hearing me live in a rave, or even if they're not hearing me, they're seeing my name on whatever flyer. So they're like, okay, well, I guess he's decent. So he's got a name, I guess. So we'll book him too. You know what I mean? And it just kind of, you know how it is at that time. It's 1 week to the next, man. It's one gig to the next. And it just kind of, you look back and you're like, holy shit, man, I'm actually doing this.
Were you feeling that at the time when you were doing those shows and this escalation was happening with the bookings, that there was a greater push for you? Did you still feel that type of competitive nature that you had during the competition? Did that carry forward with the rest of the
Yes,
shows?
that's carried forward till today. Yeah, no, 100%. Because listen, man, like I came up under the greats. You know what I mean? I came up like the way I looked at it was, Mystical, Sniper, and Marcus are the greatest of all time, and they were the best. They were without question the gold standard at that point in time in Toronto, and they came up under Dr. No and Roughneck and Jungle PhD and Medicine Muffin, so and Hard Crew. So Toronto has a long history in the drum and bass scene anyway of really high caliber DJ, and you don't have to be better than the guys, but you got to be able to stand next to them. You know what I mean? Like why should I be on any bill if I can't at least stand next to and hold my own with Mystical and Marcus and Sniper and all the guys coming from England? If I can't stand next to them, why do you need to book me? Because it's not like I'm some big name producer or anything like that. Like all you're getting from me is a guy who's taking his DJing really seriously, because of the passion I have for it. So that nature, that whatever you want to call it, it's not that I'm competitive, like, hey, I think I'm the best and I'm trying to be the best. I'm trying to be the best I can be, because I have a high standard for myself. You know what I mean? Because, I grew up idolizing Randall, and studying Randall tapes and studying Kenny Ken tapes. And I just, that was the standard that I was trying to achieve at all times.
Do you think that the people that you believe to be heroes, that the standard that you were trying to achieve and live up to, do you feel that those performers were also along the same type of vibe that you were having?
I mean, I don't know. You'd have to ask. Yeah, maybe that's Mystical would probably shrug it
When
off,
you were
but he was coming for blood.
when you were listening though, or when you were seeing them
Yeah.
perform, I mean, did you get that idea? Was it
Like I said, everybody's got their own person. Like, I'll tell you a funny story. Like during this era that we're talking about, this late '90s, early 2000s, sort of, the big rave era. Like Marcus, for example, you could have a strong argument who was the number one DJ at that point. It would be the Mystical, Sniper, Marcus, or depending on maybe it was Capital J or whoever. But I could tell you, all these raves that Marcus was absolutely destroying, he didn't even have decks at home. He was showing up to these raves with the box of records that he just bought and he maybe listened to on one little shitty turntable. He was just fucking decimating place.
Who's this? I'm
Whereas me,
sorry.
I'm in my house all fucking week,
Did it cut
That
out?
was
Like,
Marcus.
Marcus.
Yeah, that was Marcus who was doing that. So my point is, were we competitive? We were, but I don't know. Like none of us were trying to be the best. We were just trying to be the best we could be. And we're trying to be the best we could be because you don't want to get embarrassed, man. Like fucking, we were at Beat Junkie every Friday night for a period there, and that was like the Lions Den, man. Like, listen, Mystical's coming with a bag of dubs, Sliper's coming with a bag of dubs. They're mixing their asses off. I'm not going to go in there and look like a fucking idiot. I know who's in there watching.
Okay, so
I'm coming for war too.
There's some hindsight here, and maybe a bit of irony. There was a lot of importing that was happening from other parts of the planet coming to Toronto, and they were the Friday and Saturday night big name, and then of course there would be y'all underneath it. But I'm thinking about it because when you were just going through a list of names about like who might have been out of place, and I'm thinking about it while you were saying it. I don't a dozen of y'all were all like at that moment great, and I think it's kind of funny. But if you were on the outside looking in at Toronto, you were probably looking over at your friends, going, "What's in the water over there? It's kind of crazy. Like we have to go party in Toronto. That's where the drum and bass is in North America."
I think we took it. I don't think we. I think we were so caught up in what we were doing that we didn't realize that. Like we knew there was something going on, but it was just normal to us. Like it wasn't like, oh wow, we got all this going on. It was more like, this is going on. I want to be a part of it. So you have a lot of people that were inspired, and that were all that we're all doing this at a consist. Like I said, you have to be good enough to stand next to the guys that were there. So whether it was Mystical or Sniper or Roughneck or Radisson Muffin or Marcus or whoever, it could have been Capital J, could have been Freaky Flow, could have been Rumble, could any of the guys that were around, Everfresh, Slip and Slide, whoever, everyone that was sort of around that era, they all had to be of a certain caliber. You know what I mean? And so, but we didn't. To answer, we didn't really. Me personally, I didn't look at it like. It just seemed normal to me because I'd already been raving for, since '92. Like this was just normal life for me. I didn't look at it like we had this crazy. Toronto was this crazy hub of like. I can understand what you're saying. Like if I was the outside looking in, and I've had people from the outside looking, other cities, the States, whatever, even England, talking about what we had here. But for me, it was just another. It was just that was my life. I didn't, I had the blinders on. All I cared about was what dub plate am I cutting this week? What promo am I getting this week? I didn't give a shit about literally anything else.
So, but then was the goal to? What was the goal? Why the dub plate then? Why were you pressing it?
The goal was to just be as fresh as I could be because we loved it. You get so excited about the music, like I'm just trying to have the best music in my box that I could, and I'm just so excited about it. If I was able to have access to whatever tune from whatever producer or whatever label, if I was able to finagle fucking access to it, which I got pretty good at, I'm doing. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't like I'm DJing, getting my little fucking whatever. I don't know. Here's $250, $300 to DJ at Cyrus or whatever, and I spent $500 on dubs. Like that was a bum. All I had was the fucking music that I didn't care. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about anything. All that mattered was the music. And at that time, especially in drum and bass, it was a very fruitful period. It was a very productive period. There was a lot of amazing music that was week in, week out coming up, and things were progressing at a fast rate. So I was just trying to stay on top of it, man. Like, you know what I mean? It had nothing to do with me trying to be better than the next guy. It just had to do with me being so excited about that music. I wanted to get it as early as possible.
Did that ever kick you out while you were performing live? A nudge on a dub plate, or maybe you had to adjust the pitch. Maybe you dropped the record one beat off. Something happened. Something. Did that ever kick you out in the middle of the set? All of a sudden your vibe is like lost?
No, because I learned very early on that if that's the difference between the guys that are playing and the guys that aren't. Like that's DJing 101. If you get phased by making a mistake, you're ready to be up there.
So then why the mixtape hesitancy?
It's a good question because there's a difference between sitting in your room by yourself with no vibe and having I always fed off the crowd. It didn't have to be a massive crowd. I always fed off the pressure of having to deliver live in my house. To this day in my house, I struggle. Like I got to do my radio shows or whatever. I can't be fucking bothered. It's hard for me to get in a vibe by myself. I can DJ all day to myself just for my own enjoyment to listen to music, but I don't know, to hit the standard that I'm expecting of myself, sometimes I just can't get the vibe, you know.
Do you ever
So
think
that
about
was what it did.
maybe?
But it's a valid question what you're saying though.
Yeah, no, no, because I'm hearing I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm
Yeah.
picking up what you're laying down. At the same time, though, it's making me wonder because you felt like you were doing 1 foot forward and then 1 foot back and then back forward again. So
I didn't look at it like that. I you know, it, it's not supposed to be rings. Like I understand if you're looking at it like from a career perspective, it's supposed to be rungs on a ladder.
no,
You know what I
for me
mean?
right now. I'm trying to capture the story and the essence of what made Lush Lush, right?
Okay, I saw. I was. It's funny. I've been diving into a lot of Andrew Weatherall interviews recently because I just find it to be an interesting character. He said something in something I watched the other day. He said, I wrote it down because it was how fucking poignant it was. He goes, they're asking him similar questions. Why he did, because Andrew Weatherall, for those who aren't familiar, he was one of the pioneers of Acid House, but he was always the underground guy. He was never Danny Rambling or Pete Tong or whoever, but he started it with those guys. And he was always, for his entire career till he died, he was one of the most staunchly underground DJs, highly respected tastemakers. And they asked him questions similar, why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? And he said he goes, once it becomes a career, he goes, I didn't want it to become a career, and then I didn't want to end up not liking the music anymore. And that for me kind of sums up a lot because I've had points in time where I was, chasing the carrot, so to speak, and I ended up not liking the music. And I would have to take like a break from it to recalibrate my focus so that I keep that. My ethos is real simple, man. The music is first and foremost for me. My personal enjoyment with the music supersedes everything. So anytime the whole idea of a career or in the industry or the fucking politics, whatever you want to call it, anytime that starts to come in play and I might get frustrated, I recalibrate my focus to remember why I do this. And I don't let anything or anyone get in the way with my personal relationship with the music. And that's kind of been from day one till now. It's the reason I'm still here, because the music is exciting enough to me to want to be involved. So doing things like thinking about how I should roll out a mixtape or how I should operate my social media or if I should have a certain agent or if I should align myself with this person, none of that shit means anything to me. I don't give a fuck. All I care about is the music that I'm into, and if it excites me, I'm going to find my path within it and I'm involved in it. And that's the reason I'm here today still. It's the reason I've been doing this since 1992. You know what I mean? Sure, I could have, if I could look back on, talk to myself when I was fucking 20, I could give myself some advice on how to make a better career out of it. But I have no regrets because, I might not be the biggest DJ in the world, but in my own city, there's no one, whether they like me or not as a person, they're not going to disrespect me. They're going to, you know what I mean? They're going to say, no, he stands with these guys.
You had a form of evolution as well, because I mean, when you started off DJing, you were a solo act, but it didn't stay that way.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I mean, I started DJing, and then I guess probably around 98, me and Natural kind of formed, like we were always friends through raving and jungle and all that, and we were always hanging out. But around
And y'all were
98,
both doing your own things.
yeah. Well, he was at one, for a period of time, he was, the number one MC. I mean, he was Vinyl Syndicate's MC, and obviously all the big events, Cyrus and everything, he was the resident. But he got disillusioned with the music around 96. And 96 was kind of a pivotal year because that's essentially when jungle kind of morphed into drum and bass. And he got disillusioned with the way the music sounded in 96. And he's like, this shit's fucking whack. And he took a break. But while he was on the break, me and him would stay in contact. He'd give me a call or whatever. And so in 97, myself and some friends of mine, we got it in our head that we were going to throw a rave, and we got a ton of money together, and then we did this rave called Lucid, and we had 187 lockdown right when that Speed Garage thing hit, so we were the first people to bring them. We had who did we bring? We brought DJ Ron, MC50, DJ K. Anyway, the party was a fucking absolute complete disaster. Obviously, we lost fucking millions of dollars, but he had already. We reconnected through that party because this is when he was on hiatus, and I was calling him. I'm saying, "Listen, I'm doing this party, man. You have to MC at it." And he was hemming and hawing about it. He's like, he goes, I might. He goes, I'll let you know the day of. And well, anyway, he didn't show up. But a couple of weeks later, he called me. And he said, you know what? I really appreciate that you were bugging me to come and do this party. He explained to me, how he was feeling about the music, whatever. And I said, listen, dude, I was feeling the same way at that point. But trust me, the music right now, we're talking about early 98, not late 97, early 98. So the music right now is incredible. And I gave him some suggestions of things to check out, which was at the time, it was all the Full Cycle stuff. And he hit me back. He's like, yeah, no, this is me. This is, he goes, I'm super excited about this music. So we started just hanging out again. He would come to my house and we would make mixtapes. None of them ever came out. I got fucking boxes of them, but he would just MC and I would DJ. And it was just kind of just vibing. He was kind of getting his head back around it. And for me, it's just practice as a DJ. And then he started coming out with me. We'd go to places like Beat Junkie and shit like that. And he reconnected with everybody. And pretty much like, fucking honestly, like weeks after he came around with me, he was back on all the Cyrus bills and everything like that, and right back where he was when he left off. And then we were really good friends. So he said, we should do like a concept or whatever. I don't know. We didn't really. We started calling the tapes we were making Catch and Wreck, and then it just snowballed into what it became. And then later on, maybe 99, 98, 99, we decided to start buying some studio equipment and fucking around with that. And then it just kind of, the next thing you know, the promoters are billing us like that. It was we were just buddies, man. We were just hanging out, and it just became what it became. Oh, 100%. We weren't trying to fucking be the guy that emptied the dance, of course. And Nacho would fucking ring me about it. He'd be like, "Hey, listen, man." He goes, "Fucking, you better come and smash it tonight." He's like, "Fuck that." He's like, you gotta show all these fucking pussies. You better come and smash it today. So he's in my ear, and I'm like, don't worry. And I'm holding back tunes that he hasn't heard before, so I can play them. So he can. So I purposely not show him like certain new shit that I had, so that he'd hear it for the first time when I'm playing, and he'd get excited himself, and that would amp him up. And it was just, that was our vibe. It was, we were both so passionate about the music that I think that came through in what we did. And I think the people that liked us and fucked with us, I think they were able to catch that vibe from us, that we love this shit. We're at that time, we fucking loved what we were doing. So I think that it was infectious on people. And I think that's, clearly we got a couple bookings out of it. Clearly we had a little run, you know what I mean? So yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, it was no, like, there was times where, it would be like, you're like, no, it would just be like, there would be times like, yeah, we did that shit tonight. But no, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. We were just living in the moment. Like, it wasn't, okay, we did that one. What's next? What's the next one? You know what I mean? Obviously there was times where on the ride home, we'd be like, yo, maybe we could have fucking, we could have done this a little better, or we could have done that a little better, or whatever. But, or and there was other times it's like, yep, no, we came and we fucking dealt with it tonight, To be honest with you, we didn't. don't recall ever celebrating that we won anything because we were just, like I said, it was on to the next. What are we doing next? What tune are we making next? What set are we playing next? It was never, we never pat ourselves on the back. You know what I mean? I mean, because that wasn't even something that was in our mindset to do. Like, it wasn't, again, it's not, we didn't look at it like it's rings on a ladder. We were just living in the moment, doing this because doing the music the way we wanted to hear it. So in all honesty, there's never been a time ever in my entire career that I pat myself on the back. Yeah, there's times where you play a set and you're like, I was feeling that tonight, that everything gelled. You know how it is. Like, you have those sets where you as a DJ, you have those nights where it just the mixes are in your head three records ahead, and you're like you're mixing two and you're looking for the next record because you got the idea already. You know what I mean? It just, and everything you do just, it hits. You know what I mean? It just, the ideas are flowing and it just happens. That's the magic. I mean, I think as DJs, we're all looking for that spark constantly. We're always trying to, that's what we're searching for. That's the high that we're trying to achieve, right? Where you're executing, everything is just happening. You know what I mean? And so for us, it was just always that. It was very spontaneous. I think I always look at it like, for as much as I was a DJ, before I was a DJ, I was a raver. And while the whole time I was DJing, I didn't hang out in the back. I was out in the crowd. So I have so many vivid memories over the years of that experience of being in the middle of a heaving rave with a huge sound system, and a DJ plays a certain tune or they do a certain mix, and it's that experience that sticks with you. Like, I could give you countless retells of moments on the dance floor to countless DJs, whether it's Mystical or Sniper or Kenny Ken or Andy C or whoever, where you would just have that fucking moment. And I think for me, I was always wanted to be the person that gave that moment to other people. Like, if I could impact someone the same way that, like, hearing Brian G or somebody impacted me on the dance floor, then that's what I wanted to achieve. I always wanted to just be, my whole goal was always, like I said, I need to be able to look at, like, when you say these are the greats, you have to say, well, Lush stands next to those guys. So I always wanted to be like, if you're getting a great moment from being on the middle of the dance floor when Andy C's playing, I want you to get that same moment from me as well. That was really it. Like, it was not, I never looked at anything with a career stepping stone.
Checking out stuff from a dance floor, moments during a set, especially coming from a time where it was presented with turntables, hearing a mistake that would get corrected in a steamboat second. Was this not?
That's the real skill. That's the real skill of a real DJ.
So then, what's up with your mixtapes, man?
I don't know, man. You want to get a psychiatrist? I can lie on the couch and we can talk about it. I don't have an answer to you. Yeah. So I'm saying to you, I'll find ones that I did and I'll listen to them and I'll be like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm fucking just a stupid asshole. Honestly, like,
No, I think it's super. It's absolutely interesting, and it's one of those things of where, if you think about it, the natural path that was taken by most people that were trying to get up there. This was what was, before it was, it was making music. There was always that, but of course the mixtape, when a mixtape wasn't about having, a bunch of your own original tracks, it was about having tracks that you had purchased, maybe also some original stuff on dubplate, and have that mixed. But even though you were doing that, you didn't really do that. But you were okay to step
I was
up
doing
on the
it later
radio
on,
where people were making their own mixtapes, and then you agree with me, these magic moments that happened, where it would be just off just for a second, and you look up, and boom, on it, and then it's solved, and you're like yeah, like it's.
I was never like, yeah. I was like, okay, fuck.
Really?
If you made, no, I was never like, yeah. I was just like, I'd be pissed for a split second, like, I fucked that up, but I'll fix it, and now we move on to the next mix.
How is
all right,
this
so
not magic?
I pushed and pulled one little tiny mix, and then the next mix, I'm gonna nail the next 5 perfectly, and so the one fucking pussy hole in the fucking audience. It's like, see, I told you Lush is shit. Well, you're not gonna say that after the next fucking 10 minutes of this set. You know what I mean? So I never looked at it, but it is. That is the sign of a real DJ. But that being said, like I said, I idolize guys like Randall who didn't make mistakes ever. You know, like
how much music did you release as Catch and Wreck?
There was a few releases on Trouble on Vinyl, and Renegade Recordings, which was one of their side labels. We had a couple things on Hustling Beats. We had little bits and bobs on like some smaller shit. What was that label? It was a label called New Directions. Nothing, you know. We were never fucking special. You know what I mean? We did our bit. If I go back, listen to that old shit, the production is fucking embarrassingly bad, but the ideas were good. You know, the idea, I can listen, I can hear what we were trying to do, but I don't think we executed well, but we had good ideas.
Why was the execution not? Was it because
because we just the production quality? Yeah, the production quality was just not there. It's just not there. You know, I think that you got to remember, like, no one would, like, this was the days of, you know, EMU samplers and analog mixing, and there was no Ableton tutorial, there was no sample pack. You know, we were just fucking learning as we went, and you would get a little piece of information from, you know, a certain English guy will tell you, like, producer will come over, oh well, you should maybe if you do your beats like this. But even then, they were not forthcoming with the information. It was a very closed book of knowledge for us for many years.
Why do you think that was?
I think because it was so difficult to make music of a high caliber that the people that had figured out the angles and the techniques weren't so eager to share them with the next guy because of how long it took them to get it.
But how does this make sense?
We can argue the morals of that all you want, but
I don't think about the morality. I'm just trying to think actually economics of it. One of the basic laws of economics is that competition breeds creativity. Right? So if you're a creative type, then you want to have something to measure against. So you can look at it and go, that's really fucking cool.
So
what can I do? Right?
I have to use drum and bass producers as my comparative point, but try and think about this in terms of the music that you're into. If you were Photech, would you teach people how to be Photech? Because I fucking wouldn't. If you were Dillinger, would you teach people how to be, like, if you think Dillinger was going to sit there and teach you how to mic up the drums and do and make his sound? He wasn't going to do. That's his sound. He came to that sound on his own.
See, what I mean? Through trial and error. Though that's just it. Unless you are Dillinger, even if you follow an absolute, you know, point-to-point tutorial, you're still not going to be Dillinger.
No,
right?
You're not. But
right, there's something about each of us that makes each of us a superhero. No matter 100%. Wherever you are, whatever industry you're in, whatever it is that you do, there's something special about you. Right.
I like you, man. You're like the positive affirmation guy. We're all superheroes. That's why you got something going here. You got to start fucking doing seminars and shit. Anyway, sorry.
I'm just saying that, you know, like there's lots of tutorials that are online from a bunch of stuff, and you can probably get close, but there's still going to be.
But that's today. That's today. This didn't exist in the time frame. Right. Today, that's a whole. I mean, I can talk in length about the benefits and the bad points of that in terms of, especially in drum and bass. We are rife. Like, the funny thing is as much as I love drum and bass, I'll tell you something. I actually only like about 85% of it. Sorry, I only like about 15% of it. I hate 85% of it. And the reason I hate 85% of it is because it's either just absolute fucking garbage, like soulless white boy music, or it's a clone tune. It's because of how easy it is now to learn, like you said, to get a tutorial and how do you make this kind of tune? Well, now everyone can make that kind of. So I'll hear 30 tunes from 30 different producers that are very similar, and I'll pick the two out of that batch that I think are the best, and those are the ones I'll play. But that doesn't mean that those other 28 tunes didn't exist, but they're all carbon copies of each other, right? And that's what happens when you get. So it's. I see both sides of this argument. Like, yes, it shouldn't be a closed book of information, but sometimes when you open up that book, now you're just getting inundated with a lot of people that are making music. Because, I mean, we're going to get into a whole other topic here. They're making music because you can't DJ if you don't make music. So you want to be a DJ, but you don't necessarily have a voice as a producer. You're not necessarily an artist that has something to say. You're not even necessarily an artist. You're just a fucking guy making beats. You know, there's a big difference between a producer and a guy who's making beats, or there's a big difference between a real artist and a producer. So we're getting, in drum and bass, we're rife with producer music, but there's actually only 15% of it is actual real artistry, right? So me as a DJ, I only play the artists. But the reason for that is because of all the information that's available for people to take in. Now, the good thing is that, I mean, shit, we could have definitely benefited from a lot of that information being available to us at the time. And again, I don't want it to be an argument about that shouldn't happen, because it should. Stranger is a perfect example. He's helping a lot of people out with his tutorials, and he calls it democratizing the information for music making, which I 100% support. It's a great thing. But like you said, each person has to bring their own individual take on things. And when everybody's using the same stock sounds or the same plugins, sometimes it's a little harder for each individual person to bring their own take on it, because they didn't really have an individual idea in their head to begin with. They're trying to make I want to make a song that sounds like Dillinger, so I'm going to make a song that sounds like a low rate Dillinger. And my answer to that is,
how does this affect you though? I'm hearing it affect you, but how does it affect you? I mean,
as a DJ, it makes me say, why do I need to play your low rate Dillinger song when I can just play a whole set of Dillinger?
So then, but then why aren't you just ignoring it and moving on? I mean, this is literally the thing about the DJ, is that the DJ is supposed to go and select their own tracks and do their
100%.
own things.
No. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying to you.
yeah. So you've got the opportunity to not just
15% of the
completely
music that I
ignore what
love,
you consider as trash.
I do completely ignore it. 100%.
Wonderful.
I completely ignore it. Oh yeah, no, of course, man. I wouldn't be here. I completely ignore it. That's the point. That 15% of the music that I love is the best music on the planet. You know what I mean? It's, in my opinion, as far as electronic music is concerned, there is nothing more cutting edge than the 15% of drum and bass that's at the top of the tier. That's the best music on earth. And that's the music that I'm always going to fuck with.
Can you give us an example of who you're listening to today that you feel is super awesome? Just shout out 3 random names right now off the top of your brain.
Breakage. Break. Coco Bryce. Tim Reaper. Caliber still at the top of the pile.
What would you say?
I could go on and on.
Is this all within the same realm, genre? The producers and performers that you just listed?
Well, it's all jungle drum and bass. It's definitely different. It's different branches of the same tree. It's different. I mean, me as a DJ, I don't play one sound ever. I take in the whole spectrum of the music. Like I said, that 100% of drum and bass, 85% of it right off the bat, we cut that, we throw that in the fucking garbage. Now we have 15%. That 15% is the full spectrum still. So whether I'm playing Caliber or whether I'm playing, I don't know, DLR and Ulterior Motive, that's the whole, and everything in between, whether it's Gremlins or Marcus Visionary or Coco Bryce, like all the sort of quote unquote jungle stuff, or the really technical drum and bass, down to like the soulful stuff, Caliber, etc. I pick the best out of that batch and I present what excites me out of there. You know what I mean? I try to play the best out of that.
I hope I'm not misquoting here. I think earlier in the show you said that in 1996 was the change from jungle to drum and bass, or was it the other way around?
Yeah, I mean, that was, the music changed, the sound of the music and the aesthetic of the music changed around that period. It's to me, it's all still jungle. But
I was about to say, I'm wondering what's the difference? What's the difference between drum and bass and jungle?
It's a slippery slope conversation. For me, it's all the same thing. But at the same time, if I say to someone who knows the music, I say that tune's like a jungly tune that has a jungle feel to it, they'll know what I mean. But it doesn't. It's still all the same music. Like I said, I'll play something that's considered to be very drum and bass, like a break, for example, or a DLR, for example, or a bungle, for example. But then I'll also play something that's considered to be very jungle, i.e., Coco Bryce or Tim Reaper or a stretch tune or something like that, Drama One, whatever, and everything in between. So it's kind of more of an aesthetic at this point. But around that period of time that you're talking about, there was a lot going on in the UK with jungle, that they were forced to change the music for it to survive. And what I mean by that is they were having issues in the clubs and in the parties that the jungle was the music of the streets, and with that sometimes comes an aspect of the streets that you don't necessarily want in a rave. So they were having issues, like literally, like, you know, gang stuff and shootouts and shit like that, and violence that was being associated in the press at that time with being associated with jungle music. And there's a really, it's really unfortunate because there's a real undercurrent of racism involved in that at the time and even now. But back then there was a real, because jungle was black music. It always has been and always will be. It comes from the melting pot of black music. And if you look at the crowd at a jungle party in 1994, especially in the UK, it was 70% black people. Now, if you look at that same crowd at a drum and bass party, say by the mid 2000s, it's 90% white people. And the music changed in relation to that. So what had happened was the innovators and the DJs in jungle drum and bass at the time they were having a hard time actually physically getting venues to throw events in, because the venues were saying, we can't have jungle music here because jungle music brings, quote unquote, a bad crowd. And we can't have that in our club. And simultaneously, what was happening at the same time was garage happened as a reaction to what was happening in jungle. So as the music in jungle, some of the elements that made it the melting pot that made it a more diverse black music, they were getting stripped away and become a much more sort of minimal music, which was nothing wrong with that. The music changed and kind of morphed into what we call drum and bass. Now, that time around 96 was a weird time because the raga samples pretty much became non-existent, and the raga influence in many ways became non-existent, and they were replacing it with like hip hop samples. And for me, and I know for Natural, a lot of it was really fucking corny music. Like it went from being really fresh, future thinking music to a lot of the stuff was super fucking corny. And it was just like, yo, this is cheesy, man. I don't really want to play this. And then you had the reaction to that music by other aspects of the scene at the time, which was either what they would call the intelligent jungle. So it was very like mellow, ambient, techno influenced, that sometimes wouldn't translate as well to, like, if you're an 18-year-old on the dance floor who just wants to go crazy, sometimes Bookham isn't your first choice. And then you had what Metalheads was doing at Blue Note, and their music was becoming very, very dark, very technical. Like the producers were trying new things with the equipment that was becoming available at the time, and the music was becoming very technical and very stark as a result of it. So this was all kind of happening over that 96, 97 period, where if I showed you certain tunes, like by the time 97 hit, and I compared it to a tune like from early 94, you might not even realize it's the same music, but it is. So that's what was happening in that period. So we kind of recognize it as that's when drum and bass, quote unquote, became a thing. But for all of us that have been there from the beginning, it's always been jungle drum and bass. Like there's never been a time throughout the entire history of this music where I wasn't playing what I believed to be jungle at the time. So I would always find, and Marcus will tell you the same thing, I always found the music throughout the years, whether it's the 2000s, whatever, that to me was the closest or represented that melting pot that initially got me hooked on jungle. So whether I was playing Total Science or Digital or Full Cycle or Mark Sinilex or Caliber, I always found the tunes that to me were the jungle tunes, even if everyone else was calling them drum and bass. So it's a tricky subject. There is definitely a change in the music around that time period, and there's definitely a sort of, it went from being jungle to drum and bass. But for those of us that have always been there, it's always been just jungle. But I understand when someone says that's a drum and bass tune or that's a jungle tune. I totally understand what they mean. For me, it's all the same thing. You know what I mean? But it's an aesthetic. At the end of the day, I guess it's just an aesthetic. Jungle music is a vibe. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of, like I said to you, man, 85% of drum and bass to me is fucking just garbage. And, you know, and that the reason it's garbage is because it's so far removed from that initial melting pot vibe of jungle. So I just don't relate to it. So for me, it's just instant delete. Goes in the trash, you know?
If you could think of 3 drum and bass tracks that are like the tunes, they
that's
are
impossible.
absolute.
It's impossible.
They are absolute classics.
It's impossible. I mean, that's the good thing about the genre is I can give you 3 tunes from each, big producer. That's an absolute classic. You know what I mean? Like, that's an impossible question. I'll tell you 3 tunes right now, and I'll tell you 3 tunes 5 minutes later. I mean, I don't even know how to answer that question. I mean, I'd say the best way to answer that question is to recognize sort of who are the true greats of the music. And that would be like if someone was like, okay, who do I check out? And you'd start at the true icons of it and work your way down. In that sense, we're talking about Dillinger, we're talking about Photek, we're talking about Mark Mack and Dio at Reinforce, we're talking about Goldie, we're talking about Ronnie Size and Die and Crust, we're talking about Optical, we're talking about Marcus Intellects, we're talking about Caliber, Digital, Spirit, Total Science, Andy C and Ant Miles, and we can be here all day, but I mean, I instead of saying what are the three classic tunes, I'd say that's your base of producers to start from. And even then, Source Direct, LTJ Bookham, Alex Reese, Wax Doctor, we can be here all day, the music is rich, and that's why I'm still so excited by it all these years later.
Absolutely awesome to hear. If we wanted to listen to you now, during this pandemic, where can we send people to listen to DJ Lush?
Well, we do our ISO show every month. I didn't do it last month because I was just too fucking busy. But I do my ISO show. It's supposed to be Inner City Dance, but somehow I've inherited and Marcus isn't available to do it because he has his cool show the same week. But so I do pretty much one mix a month. And then I've been doing a lot of streams, but I guess Mixcloud, excuse me. This is how we do it live. We burp live on camera.
I've done it. It's happened. Yeah, we're human.
Mixcloud and SoundCloud. The links go up, whether it's from ISO Radio Direct or me myself putting it up. And then I've been doing so the Toronto Jungle guys they have a stream going now during the pandemic. So I'm supposed to do it once a month. I'm not going to be doing May because I'm too busy, but I'll probably do June. But there's definitely a bunch of streams out there, and then Mixcloud and SoundCloud is really what else do we have right now? It's not like you're going to see me live anywhere, right? I don't see any change to that anytime soon. Sadly. So
well, I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to see you play live again. I would like that. I would like to be somewhere and see you step up. That would bring a big smile on my face. And to hear what you consider to be the top 50% of drum and bass jungle.
Yeah, man. Shit. I'm looking forward to it too. Hopefully I still got my chops. It's been a while. DJing at home and DJing at a club are two different things. It's gonna be hilarious. I think the first few weeks out for everybody is gonna be fucking hilarious. We're gonna have some real shaky DJing. I think it's gonna be funny. I guess using the sync button. I don't know. I just feel like for the guys that are doing it for real, I think it's gonna be hilarious. I mean, it's like riding a bike, but there's I mean, shit. You remember when you were coming up? I remember the first time I played on like a real system. This was like probably 1994, I think, at Tunnel. And I remember turning to Everfresh and Slip Aside and be like, yo, that shit was way different than my basement, dude. You know what I mean? So it's a totally different thing. I mean, yeah, we've been doing it for so many years. It's like riding a bike, but it's just funny to me. I just think that, DJing in your house or DJing on a stream or whatever is completely different than DJing to a crowd, especially considering you're playing to the crowd specifically. You know what I mean? The way you play changes because you have a crowd. Whereas when I'm DJing in the house, I'm literally playing to myself. I'm playing what I want to hear with no compromise whatsoever. I'm not thinking, oh, look at the crowd over there. They're not responding to this style. Let me switch it to this style. No, it's like, fuck you, man. I'm playing what I want to play,
I don't have one utility room session where I haven't bungled 1 to 5 mixes over the course of it.
Yeah.
And I'm totally digital. It's just I'm triggering things at the wrong time. So I mean, at least people.
What do you mean
that,
you're totally digital? What, you're playing on Ableton? What do you mean?
Yeah. I've been on Ableton since 2007, 2006.
Respect. I just don't get it. But respect, man. Cool.
Man.
I don't
think
understand
if I spent an afternoon with you,
yeah,
and we loaded up all your music and then showed you.
I'm not disputing what you could do with it technically, like the possibility. Believe me, I'm not disputing that. I just,
right.
I don't know, man. I like to. I mean, shit. I still play vinyl a lot. You know, I just
Right.
like to. I like to DJ. I just like the physical, the tactile. You were saying
I'm
earlier about that. You know, you push the mix in and you're just like, yes. You know, I still like that feeling. I still enjoy the pressure. You know,
I push stuff.
but I respect.
You
Wow.
know, it's I'm pushing stuff.
So what do
You're
you?
still pushing
So
stuff.
what? So are you playing like the stems of a track and sort of creating shit on the
Sometimes,
fly,
yeah.
or you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. In fact, for a moment, it felt that there was a very strong restriction online against sets, you know, using obviously other people's music, and that it would get your channel in jeopardy, you
It
know,
still is. Yeah.
if you were okay. So if that's still ongoing, so then what I started doing was I'm like, well, if I'm playing, then I better play my whips, and then I started grabbing, you know, different stems, loops, and things. So like some of the UR shows, the first 10 minutes is just me jamming. It's little, they're not even
Yeah.
tracks, you know. So yeah, you know, I mean, and then
So what
I
would you
there's
consider? Do you at this point where you're at now? Are you? I'm interviewing you now. Look at this, eh? Look how the fucking tables are turned
go
there,
for it.
Joshua.
I'm ready. I'm ready for you, brother.
Would you consider yourself? Do you exist in what you consider to be the sphere of techno, or would you consider yourself to exist within the sphere of like house? Or
You know, I'll tell you that I've always personally felt that the house community never thought that I was house music, and that the techno community never thought that I was techno. And sometime in 2006 or 2005, maybe even, when Beatport first started, they put me in electro house, and then a lot of people just started saying that I was electro house. But then, if you listen to my stuff, I maybe have at best a half dozen electro house releases, and then the rest of it is not. And I don't know how I would say it. I right now I would call it athletic pump up shit. But you know,
okay, so
but
I guess the better
someone
question
else.
would be when you're you're looking for music or you're tasting music, do you find yourself pulling from labels and artists that are traditionally classified as techno as well as traditionally classified as house, and just picking what you like and mixing it together?
So much like the old school idea of the record store, where we would go to the record store and one of us would be behind the
Yeah,
tables, and someone would come in and we would give, you know, we'd obviously ask the question, what do you like? And then, of course, you'd sneak in a few of your own personal interests as
yeah,
well. But you knew what it was that you were pulling at the time because you were cultivating your own interests in both the label name and as well as the artist name or a remixer, etc. And so on Beatport, just for as an example, what you can do is you can create your own list of labels and artists that you wish to follow. So I'm not going to say I stopped digging. I haven't, and I'll go to different genres. So um, the first thing I'll do is I'll visit my list of my own curations so that I can see, because it's really tough to follow everybody's news story to see what's going
yeah,
on. So it's a
yeah.
lot simpler to go ahead and visit this curated
Mm-hmm.
list to see who it is that's doing what, because I'll get the notification. It'll be highlighted. It'll let me know, okay, cool. You know, Fowler's got a new release this week. I'm like, all right, dope. I'm going to check it out. I mean, I'm using that as an example. I would know if Fowler had a new release, but I'm saying that this idea happened. So there was a form of a more personalized curation, but that again, that didn't stop the exploration. So I do visit house music, and I do visit progressive, and I do visit techno, and then they've got I think something called peak time techno.
Yeah. What the
I
fuck
go
is
to
that's
that as
hilarious.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because it's not, because the techno people got upset with, for example, people like me who are all of a sudden in the techno section. They'd be like, that is not techno,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so I'm like,
yeah.
you know, so and
Techno and drum and bass are
I
very
guess that
similar in their elitism. Yeah,
it needed its own home for distinguishment. You know what was going to be, you know, what. So I think that my stuff sounds great during a time when you want to really have liftoff.
right.
That's when I think it. So I don't know how people want to classify it. I typically spend a good deal of time looking at the dance floor and trying to feel what the room is doing before I get going.
Yeah, yeah.
So and so
That's why
the
you're a real DJ. So regardless of what you're using there, you just said the key fucking set of words that tells me. Well, I've always known that you're a real DJ, but that you are a real DJ, because that's exactly what every real DJ does. You assess the room, you assess the energy and the vibe, and you select according to that. You know what I mean? And that's what you're doing.
Because
So
sure, well, we're all pieces of a puzzle. So this is the thing. I've felt like I was a contributor, regardless of where it was that I was on the fly.
yeah, 100%. I
and
agree with
and
that.
so
Yeah,
I'm contributing to
yeah,
something, to a greater idea, which is the night.
100%. We're in total
I'm
agreement on this.
contributing to the
Yeah,
night, so I'm not the only ingredient of it.
yeah,
So whoever is playing before me, and whoever is playing, and assuming if there is someone playing that's after me, this type of idea, this is equally as important as whatever it is that I'm doing.
yeah,
Because where I'm being left off depends on what's going to go. Do I have to start fresh?
yeah,
Is this the idea? Do I want to make? Does the room want that type of drama where I'm starting fresh? Never mind if I need to start fresh. Like, do I have this intro moment that seems like it's, or should I just mix out of what's going on and let's just go?
yeah, yeah.
You got it. These are big decisions that determine what's going to go on for the rest of the evening for everyone that's there.
And they're fundamental decisions
If
that you make in a split second. And that's through honed years and years of understanding a dance floor, which is something that all of us from our era, and I guess guys, like anyone who's experienced with this understands exactly what you're saying right now. For someone, hopefully there's people watching this, maybe they're not DJs, they might not know what you're talking about, but everything you just said to me, 100% agree with you on. That's exactly what we all do. Sure. It's what we all do. It's the fundamental DJ instinct that gives us, is what it's even more important than your mixing or your track selection, is the ability to understand where you are in the night and read the room accordingly and read the energy and the vibe of that room accordingly. So
it's a very complicated puzzle. Great nights are complicated
they
puzzles.
are, but when
because
they hit,
everything,
they just hit.
right.
It's not supposed to be like, that's the funny thing, is if you really break down the psychology of it, it seems kind of complicated, but in reality, it's just not. The ones that do it well are the ones that made the right decision in that split second, and it was literally in a split second that took into account all that psychology you're talking about and made the right decision. And or even if they made the wrong decision, they were able to recalibrate and a couple tracks in and get back where they needed to go. You said something that I really really liked, because you said the techno people don't think I'm techno enough, and the house people don't think I'm house enough. And I relate to that, because the really underground elitist drum and bass people might sometimes think that I play too much of a party style, but whereas the party style people think I play way too underground. So I really relate to what you said, because that's where I've been sitting my whole fucking career. You know what I mean? That's always where I've been sitting.
But are they dancing?
Of course, of course.
It's a rhetorical question. I know the answer to the question.
Your phone wouldn't ring if
right. So then.
No, I don't care. I don't care at all. I laugh at it. But my point is, but what you said is very poignant, because I really relate to that, because I feel the same way in my shit.
It's good conversation. It's one of the things that I spent a great deal of time thinking about, because I thought that it was having an effect on me for a moment, especially with any form of acclaim. I felt that subjected to a great deal of opinions from a variety of sources, and all of them influential, and trying to decide which is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. So,
and in the end, you just went with your gut.
Sometimes I'm happy to admit that I did some compromise stuff that I feel that maybe were not the best choices. And yeah, but I'm here, and so every day is a fresh start and an opportunity to do right what was wrong. I fortunately haven't legitimately hurt somebody, which is the most terrible thing you could probably do. So yeah, I mean I made obviously some stuff like I don't mean just live choices. I just mean like all around. Like, not all decisions are going to be the best choices.
Of course, yeah. Hindsight's 2020, obviously. Yeah. Of course,
completely.
Of course.
But when we have a tough moment, this is the opportunity where I guess you could have one or two reactions. The first reaction is or the other reaction is and so I like to go with the side, because otherwise I don't want to marinate in the other vibe.
Of course.
And there's an opportunity to begin a marination and to reflect too much on it. Instead, if we can be objective and look at it and be like, well, that didn't fucking work. So
well,
I'm gonna go the other direction.
But I bet you when you were younger, it was right? Congratulations, we're adults now. We're smart enough to know that you do the first.
I mean, yeah. I'm the last thing that's perfect.
Yeah, well, we all, but that's what it boils down to. Your years of experience have taught you the value of as opposed to fucking going crazy, which, I mean, I was guilty of. I was a fucking loose cannon for a bit there. Fucking all of us were. And it was funny. I was having a conversation with Gremlins about this just yesterday. We're talking about, similar things to that. And it was just like, when we were all younger, we didn't even really know ourselves. So how we reacted and dealt with other people was a reflection of that. So if we dealt with people in the wrong way, it's because we didn't even know who the fuck we were. We were kids. But as you get older, and you figure out exactly who and what you are, and you become comfortable in your own skin, so to speak, you're able to react a lot more with a lot more wisdom. And that's that. So that comes with, we have the, okay, everyone can make fun of us and say, oh, it's those fucking old fucking guys. But you know what? We're smarter than you guys because we have the wisdom. We made the fucking mistakes already. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of different perspective. I think there's, I'll tell you this though. I do agree with what you just said, and it's certainly a very interesting thing to put someone that perhaps has none of the experience or understanding of a scene that they're going into. I'm not even quite sure that the scene understood itself. And the whole thing is constantly under this metamorphosis. So how you went in isn't necessarily where it is about a month or 2 months down the road. And I'm not just talking about the transient nature of the people or the transient nature of the dance floor itself, but also the transient nature of the music and the transient nature of the venues. I mean, everything was constantly changing. And without adapting to it, there would be no way to keep up with it. And perhaps that is the best thing to look at when we look at performers like Lush, who are with us here for the entirety of the utility room. And I just realized right now that we didn't intro you.
You're a fucking horrible host, eh? Jesus Christ, buddy. Fuck. Pure hacks we're dealing with here. Anyway.
Still kind of do.
My name's Lush, and I play drum and bass. Booyakasha. Fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
So, you've been at it for nearly 3 decades.
Yeah. I think so. 92 was what? Is that, how long is that? 27, 28 years?
This idea that I'm getting, from you is a combination of both adaptation and heart. And with that,
it's definitely not brains. I can tell you that. It's definitely more heart than brains for sure. That's guaranteed.
It's been absolutely awesome having you with us on the show. Really appreciate you sharing all of your thoughts.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad we got it in because we had a couple of serious missteps there. We tried to do this twice already, and I don't know what happened. We never even talked about it. It doesn't matter, but I was a little upset. I got to tell you,
talk about it. I'll be absolutely
Jello
honest with
was canceled in my house. Jello was canceled. Like I'm talking like St. Hubert's when you're 7 years old and you get the Jello with the whipped cream and the cookie on top. Even
Why?
That canceled.
Why?
Canceled.
No, clearly.
Canceled. But we're good now. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's all good. We made it happen. We had a few missteps. We're here now, and I'm very appreciative of it because no one ever wants to talk to me, so I appreciate it. It's good. It's good.
What are you talking about? Everyone wants to talk to you.
No. It's good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You could be a little intimidating.
I'm not intimidated. See, this is a fucking misconception. Let's talk about this for a second. This is a misconception. I'm not intimidating. I'm not intimidating. That's not. I mean, if I am, that sounds like a look within problem, like for the person, not because it's not. I'm just like, what did I do? Like I'm fucking just me.
I have always been good with you, and I've always seen you for when you had your self summary of the way that people see me. They can see me one way or see me the other, but they know that I'm serious about my music.
If someone says I'm intimidating, I mean, I listen. I'm not trying to be. I'm not. Okay, listen, I'm not the life of the party by any means. And I'm not, but I'm a straight shooter, and I don't have time for bullshit. I don't have patience for bullshit. I don't have fucking time or patience for stupid people. If you don't fall into that category of being a fucking moron, we're going to be cool every time. You know what I mean? Like we're all I'm not I don't know, man. It's really my whole life. People would saying this to me, like, it's not my fault, man. If I look the way I look, I'm sorry, man. Like, talk to Jaw for creating me the way he created me. I don't know, man. What am I supposed to do? I'm just trying my best out here, man. I'm a fucking sweetheart. Yeah, I swear a lot, and maybe I don't know. I got a gruff voice, whatever, man. Like, shit, we're fucking men. Like, where are we supposed to be out here? We're fucking anyway. But I got a lot of love for you, man. I think we come from basically the same neighborhood, and we're basically the same age, and I feel like we had like we don't have 6 degrees of separation. I feel like we have a lot closer degree. Like, I feel like we're very similar in many ways. So we came up around the same time. You know what I mean? Through a lot of the same outlets, whether it's Cyrus or whatever. Yeah, man. Respect, man. Thank you for wasting your time with me. I appreciate it.
I could hardly consider it even remotely close to that idea. I was reminded of a story we had Demonic on the show, and he started talking about a time that we did tour together, and we went away to Alberta and played in Calgary during Christmas time. I think this was 1996 or 1998. I'm not quite sure, but I believe that you were there as Cash.
I was just gonna say, I'm thinking because I know. I think it was Edmonton. I think it was Edmonton.
No.
Because it was winter time. It was around Christmas.
It was Calgary.
Was it like in a ice skating rink?
It was.
Okay, I was there. It was and Kenny Glasgow was there, and
That's
Slip
right.
and Slide was there.
That's right.
Yeah,
Slip and Slide was with us.
He was with me. I don't know. Fucking maybe they didn't let him play or something. I don't know. Fuck. The story I'm thinking is that's who maybe we're talking about two different things. I was out west around Christmas time, around 98, 99. It was me and Natural and Slip.
Like, we were out there for like a half
Soldier
a week
was
or
out
something
there.
like that, right?
Yes. Okay. So I remember this part. This is true. All you guys fucking, I don't know, you bamboozled this promoter into bringing you guys out and putting you up in this hotel and whatever. He must have thought you guys were big stars.
What was the bamboozle?
That you were able to convince this fucking stupid asshole to bring 10 of you guys out there and put you up in a hotel for 5 days fucking raid the mini bar. So me and Natural came there strictly for the show. We came there, I think it was, whether it was a Friday or Saturday, and we were in and out because we were like, I'm not fucking coming out to fucking Calgary in the middle of fucking the winter and Christmas on a Tuesday. Fuck you. I'm busy. We got shit to do. But we came out there, and when we got there, Slip had already been there for days. I think fucking Sasha Ruckus was definitely there because he was in top fucking form, let me tell you. And Soldier was out there. There was a bunch of other people that are just like totally fanatic, like guys that shouldn't even have been there that had somehow bamboozled this fucking promoter into bringing him out there. And we got out there and we were in this like a Holiday Inn or some shit. And fucking Sasha Ruckus stole all the fucking sheets and the pillows and shit from the fucking room. And he had it in his bag. Yeah. I remember that. And then the party was in like an ice rink, but it was like one of those like rinks where there's like different rinks. It was like a hockey fucking arena or something, but it was different rinks. So each room was a different rink. So there was like Kenny Glasgow was playing in one, and me and Natural and Slip and all were playing another one. And I think I remember Dan being there. So maybe I didn't see you, but everyone was there. And then the next morning we were in the Holiday Inn. They had like a breakfast buffet, and fucking Slip was stoned out of his mind. He ate like 17 fucking rice puddings from the fucking breakfast buffet, and we're looking at this guy like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I remember all this. It was fun. We had a good time. But I remember Sasha stole all the sheets and the towels and shit, and he had in his bag, and he brought it home, and the promoter was calling him for fucking weeks after saying, you owe me hundreds of dollars.
Seriously?
Yeah. I mean, he shouldn't have been there anyway. What the fuck? But yeah, it must be the same show because it was the same time period.
I don't remember.
I thought it was Edmonton for some. Maybe I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe we're mixing up. our tours. We could do a whole fucking couple hours on just dumbass touring adventures.
I had Slip and Slide on the show like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I watched the first couple minutes and I had to go. I got to catch. I need to watch his. I need to watch Dan's. I saw like just a couple minutes of it. Mysticals was amazing. Snipers was. Oh, for fuck's sake! I mean, we talked about that already. Fuck sakes, Chris, get it together, bud. I was watching the Mike Stein one. I got a big UN Mike Stein up for that. That was excellent. Really enjoyed that.
Thanks. Yeah, he's a great guest. Yeah. We're actually got him. We have Mike back soon.
Yeah, you should. I enjoyed every second of it, man. That guy's an absolute unsung hero, legend, visionary of this thing, and he deserves to tell his story, man. I enjoyed it. But yeah, we could do fucking stupid ass fucking touring road stories for years, man. That's the most fun. I mean, that's you get us all in a room, and we're gonna laugh our asses off because that's the best shit right there. You know,
You
that's
know,
so many of those.
you had me running for a second. That was a really great laugh. I can't remember why I brought this up now. That because Dan showed me the flyer, and when he showed me the flyer, I was like, oh my god, you've got the flyer, and that's because I think Dan designed the flyer,
I
but
definitely
he
don't have the
actually
flyer.
still has a printed copy of it.
I'd like. So you're saying we're both on the same flyer? Because I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe we are.
I don't, dude. I'm so bad. Anything like I'll remember little like stupid stories like I just told you, but I don't remember gigs. You know that site. There's multiple like Instagram pages where they're posting up the old flyers and shit, and I'll get tagged in it, and it'll be like a flyer for some fucking huge party. I'm like, I was there. I don't fucking remember that shit at all. Like it's complete. I don't remember the flyer. I don't remember the lineup. I don't remember anything about it whatsoever. But fucking apparently I was there because they tagged me on it on Instagram and it says my name on the flyer. So it wouldn't have been possible for me to not show up to that many gigs. So I must have been there, you know. But I don't remember
You
them.
know, there's a variety of awesome sources to try and catch up. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that it's absolutely linear and fully coherent, but what I will say is that there's
No,
definitely some
I
captured
enjoy them.
moments
I respect that because I think we
from
need to do it.
Toronto.
Yeah, it's important.
We had Denise Benson on the show as
Yeah,
well. Absolute
yeah,
legend and chronicleizer. Toronto Gen Star as
yeah.
well. I feel did tons of incredible stuff. You know, and we had like incredible publications that were coming out. Club Life, Tribe. You know, I want to massage my own shoulders and Mark Soulard. You know, Subterrane,
Was that you? I didn't know that. I had no
Communicator.
idea that was you. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never been.
that's how it all started.
Yeah,
Yeah, me and Mark Soulard were Subterrane magazine.
I bet you leaned into that hard to get promos, eh? I'm Josh from Subterranean
Uh,
Magazine. Send promos to this address.
No, man, I was
I would
not
have
DJing. I was
skewered
not
that.
DJing then.
If I could have said I was,
I was not
oh
DJing.
boy, if I could have said I was from Mixmag or something, I would have gone crazy with that shit. I'd have business cards printed up. I would mail them to every fucking label I wanted records from. If I had, I didn't, but if I did, fuck, that would have been awesome. You didn't use that to its
Right.
full potential. You really could have fucking worked a racket with that, you know?
You know, I'll tell you that because I think the biggest run we ever did was 500 copies. And so the very idea that it ended up generating the kind of hype that it generated was wild. You know, I remember the first time that I'd showed up at somebody's house for an after party and I saw a copy sitting on their coffee table when everyone went to go sit around the coffee table. And I was like, cool. It's a thing, you know what I
You got
mean?
the
Like,
nod. You
and
got the same thing you were talking about with the Michael Stein thing. You got the nod. You got the nod. You
right.
walked in and someone had your shit and you didn't, and you were like, okay, fuck, maybe this is more than, maybe my mom was wrong. Maybe I'm not a total fucking loser and I'm able to do some shit here, you know?
Because we're always so, you know, unaware of what it is that we're doing
100%.
as we're doing
Yeah.
it. And that's why I was asking about, you know, did you stop to smell
No,
the
never,
flowers, this expression?
never.
Did you stop to
And
do
this is
it?
a perfect example.
And then while you're doing all this stuff, we're creating these drops. We're dropping these stones in these ponds, and they're creating these waves. And how the wave is going and where it's going, it's out of our
Yeah.
control. And that's why I was, you know, I understand what you're talking about. I hope you didn't feel like I was
No,
grilling you
not at all.
about
Not
the
at all.
mixtape and
No,
releasing
I
it
think it's hilarious.
because in my mind, no, I was trying to get to the root of it
Yeah.
because before this happens, I know how much your heart's invested into this, Brad. You know, I don't. We're doing this now because, you know, granted, there's a great deal of what it is that you said that I was unaware
Mm-hmm.
of. You know, but at the same time, you know, like going into it, I'm not going to say it's entirely premeditated. It's not. This is as live gets. This
Oh,
conversation.
yeah. Fuck.
But I know how much heart you've got.
Look at that. Hey, you're
I
good
mean,
enough. You're smart enough.
anyone
And
that's
gosh
seen
darn
you
it, people
DJ
like you.
knows,
I hope so, because
right?
that's all I could ever really ask for. So I appreciate that. I do, and I feel like it's the same with you because I've seen you DJ and you're an animal up there, bro. I don't know, I don't have that much energy. You know what I'm saying? And people say that I am energetic when I DJ, but fuck you, dude, you're fucking nuts, man. I don't know.
I like to have fun.
Yeah, clearly. That's as you should. Fuck.
So,
Yeah. As you should. No, but it rubs off on people. I think that's the point, right? I mean, you've definitely seen if you ask people over the years, some people will tell you that the mannerisms or whatever of a DJ is just what the DJ projects other than his music is all in many ways, for a lot of people, just as important. Like if you're like a fucking grizzled fucking head like me, I could care less as much. Like I just want to hear the music. But if for other people, that's important, you know, the aura or the image. Perfect example, like for me, would be Groove Rider. Groove Rider stands in it. Groove Rider is the polar opposite of you as a DJ, as far as his animation ever. But there's something about him that he's just like a fucking presence. You see him from the back of the room because he's fucking 9 feet tall, you know, and fucking 500 pounds, or he seems that way anyway because he's a superhero. But and he has this presence, this aura over the room, and it's infectious. You know what I mean? It's very, I can't explain it, but it's and the flip side of that, someone like you who's fucking very animated and very interactive with the crowd. There's a lot of people that really appreciate that, and they'll say that fucking you're better than whoever because of that. They won't even look at it from the music alone standpoint, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying it served you well, is my point. You know what I mean?
I'm just dancing.
Yeah. No.
I would always like, you put on a good show.
People say that I'm animated or whatever, but the reality is I don't even realize it. I don't think
about it while it's happening either.
I have no idea.
I guess I'm dancing like nobody's watching. It just happens to be
I don't even know.
There's people watching.
Yeah. I have no clue. Afterwards, the fact I see
I'm here in the utility room, man. I'm on screen. I'm raving when I'm playing. I mean, like, you know, I can't say it, you know, but it's kind of funny to me. People think it looks good. I try to watch myself, and I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing. But it's very natural, and it is what.
I agree. I mean, that's the
I absolutely adored today and our time together, and I think to myself, what would be really awesome is if we got a DJ Lush set. So if you would have us back, I know it's our first date tonight, and I know it was complicated setting it up, just like a swipe match would be.
Yeah.
But here we are, and we got it together, and it did come. So if you're into it, I'm into it. I think everyone else would
send you a mix, or what do you mean?
I mean, we'd set up a camera. Let's record your handsomeness and get your awesome love for music captured. Like let's make
my people will talk to your people, and we'll make it happen. I'm not gonna record it here. I'll go to Toronto Jungle Studio and I'll record it there. How about that? We'll do that.
I'm absolutely into it.
All right.
You know,
so if Toronto Jungle's listening, you know, boys, clear your calendar because I'm gonna waste your time for a couple hours. For absolutely no gain of your own. You're going to get literally nothing out of it other than aggravation. So I'm talking about them, not you. So yeah, we could do that.
Stuff to look forward to.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. All right. We'll get on our fucking socials and we'll iron it out. I'm cool. We'll do it. Let's do it. Let's go.
Jungle, drum and bass, rave, absolute awesome sauce. Today's show is with DJ Lush, and you've been with us here in the utility room. Really adore you being with us. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things that are necessary to make it go, and we will see you next week.
That was a dope Nardwuar finish. I thought I was supposed to respond to that. You know, doot doodaloo doot.